Podcasting from somewhere with protein shakes and no yearly membership fees. This is the Hero Fit Podcast, the show that talks about the ins and outs of fitness, nutrition, and anything else that might get you feeling like a hero. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your hosts, Nick Stutzman and Dan Weber.
Hello, and thank you for tuning in to the Hero Fit Podcast, where we talk about fitness and health with experts and heroes, or folks like you. I'm Dan Weber with my co-host Nick Stutzman, and today we are joined by Dr. Kelsey Fink for a second episode. She is a doctor of physical therapy in Rochester, New York area, and is an athlete in her own right. She competes in CrossFit, powerlifting, and bodybuilding, depending on the time of the year. She moved back home and opened her Rochester practice this year, where she works with athletes and weekend warriors to recover from and prevent injuries, as well as to maximize their athletic performance. Today, we're going to talk to her a little bit more about that and what we may have just learned from an assessment that was just done on me moments ago. And if you haven't already, be sure to check out her first episode on the podcast. That was episode number 3. It's on our website, herofitpodcast.com. Kelsey, welcome back.
Thank you, guys.
Last time we spoke to you was February. So what have you been up to since then?
Yeah, so I was telling you all about my athletic endeavors, I guess. So now, since I saw you guys, I did a powerlifting meet in March, got roped into a CrossFit competition the weekend after. It was a good roped in, though. I love my team, so that's all right. We did pretty well. And now I'm currently training for a bodybuilding show. I'm going to compete in figure and physique for anybody that knows the difference between those. So, yeah, so I'm very excited. It's been a long road of competitions this year. Enjoying it while I can.
Yeah, I'm still fascinated by the fact that you can just, your body just is malleable, I guess, in that sense. So you're just going from CrossFit to bodybuilding and powerlifting and all that stuff. It's just crazy to me.
Just taking advantage while I can.
I'm impressed. I'm not mad about it. I'm impressed.
Thank you.
It's it's a tribute to yourself, I guess, right?
Yeah, it's fun too, because then I get to still play around. I can show people that, yeah, I'm practicing what I preach, or trying to anyways, most of the time. Mm-hmm. Pretending I am anyways, right?
The dedication is overwhelming. I'm like, I just, when you talk about how you got to eat your meal soon and it's just going to be casein protein and peanut butter, that's not my life.
That's basically my new ice cream, my bedtime ice cream.
Yeah.
It's pretty sad, but I like it.
I might go get some Taco Bell after this now. You know. Just in your honor. I'm doing it for you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Eat one for me. Yeah.
I'm getting a cheesy gordita crunch. It's gonna...
Oh, how sweet.
But not really. But I thought about it. Anyway,
I'm over here just chilling. I'm ready to take a nap.
Dan has been assessed, and he's been, I don't know.
We'll have to talk about that in a little while.
Yeah, I mean.
Got to get to these other talking points first.
That's fine. But yeah.
The show is scripted, everyone.
Your back is so, I can't wait to release these pictures.
We've got a lot of incriminating footage. It's about to hit the web.
Mm-hmm. The beautiful bean footage.
All right, let's get this show back on track.
Uh-huh.
I think we should start with letting Kelsey describe a little bit briefly her educational background. We went over some of her other background in the last episode, but how did you get to the point where you are now, choosing to work with fitness-minded and active populations?
Yeah. So I graduated again from Nazareth College, graduated with my doctorate of physical therapy, 2013. From there, moved out to Baltimore, worked in outpatient orthopedics, a lot of aquatic therapy. That was when I was a new grad. I could do anything, right? What's that face for?
What's aquatic therapy?
In the pool. Like
Okay.
physical therapy in the pool. So I would see a lot of people that couldn't tolerate land-based therapy, like low back pain especially, or knee surgeries.
I watched Carson Palmer documentary of him recovering from an ACL tear, and he was in the pool a lot. So
I love
know what you're
working
talking
with
about
athletes
now.
in the pool. Yeah. Well, because you can use deep water running, so you don't have any impact. And actually, deep water running, side note, deep water running, if you do it at the same time, like I worked with a cross-country runner, and the same time length. So her race, she raced about 24 minutes, so she would deep water run for 24 minutes. And then she was actually able to race in her finals without having raced for like the past 3 weeks on her leg because it was hurting. So she was able to maintain what she had. So really cool. Anyways.
In track, we used to actually train sometimes in the pool. Like probably once a week did our workouts there.
It's so
whether it was in the like running on the pool or even like running in the deep end, but just like keeping yourself afloat by your movement.
It's totally underrated. I've worked a lot of athletes in the water just for recovery days, or the faster you move, right, the harder it is. So I worked with that for a while. And then I went to a different clinic that was all land-based. That's where I started to shift my focus more towards athletes and just more active people. I actually worked in a clinic where the 2 other therapists I was with, they preferred the geriatric population and vestibular rehab. So they just gave me all the other ones that they didn't want, which is all the ones I wanted. So it worked out really well. When we moved to West Virginia, I looked for jobs and couldn't find any because nobody was hiring where we were because we were going into the middle of nowhere. So I just decided it was the opportunity to open up my own practice. So I had my own little office in a CrossFit gym and did that for a couple of years. And why fix it if it ain't broke, right? So came home. I already knew what I was getting myself into. Found Perform Athletics and CrossFit Ambition, and they let me open up an office in each location so I could continue to do what I found that I loved in West Virginia. Just working with people that are more on the wellness side, not only coming in for, hey, I just hurt myself doing something, but hey, I think I might have done something, but I don't want to do something because this is coming up, right? It's more of that proactive appointments as well.
Optimizing as well.
Right. Yeah. And performance enhancement overall through movement. So.
And to remind everybody, the name of your business is?
It's now it's Muscle Up Physical Therapy Wellness. I'm finally incorporated, formerly Muscle Up Wellness and Recovery. So, so you can kind of find me with both names still. I'm still in the transition process here.
And of course, they can find it on HeroFitPodcast.com as well.
That's right. Damn Skippy. I guess with the introduction of yourself, we thank you again. I mean, how do you navigate being able to work on yourself like you've been doing and then working with all these patients?
It's fun. Yeah, it's very hard. I saw my chiropractor right before coming here. He's somebody that I try to see through training once every couple weeks if I can. As I get closer to a competition, maybe once a week, just to make sure that I'm staying healthy. I try to see my massage therapist once every couple weeks. I've actually currently started counseling once a week just because I can't turn to food for emotional comfort. I can't exercise for stress relief because I'm already exercising a couple hours a day, almost every day. So I don't have those same outlets that I used to. And then on top of working, it's hard when I get home. I just want to do nothing but sleep, where maybe I used to listen to music or clean.
Podcasts,
so so it is very challenging to manage it. And I try my best to time manage myself. I really try to limit my schedule patient wise to, hey, no, I'm not gonna, if I know I'm working 12 to 8 in the evening, I'm not gonna come in early in the morning for a patient that day, because that's gonna be a double day at that point, right? Coming in morning and night. So I'm trying to make sure that I'm staying safe as far as time management goes. And then the diet portion's hard too, right? If I know if I'm not going to be home, I got a giant lunchbox that I should have brought in, but it fits almost all my meals in for my day, right? I have to have 6 meals a day and I have to time it perfectly. So it is a lot. It's very hard, but I have to make sure I'm taking care of myself through what I have found works for me. And that's what I try to promote to my patients too. Find what works for you, and you have to put yourself first. It's so hard and we forget it a lot, but you have to put yourself first.
You're practicing what you preach. The first episode, we took a quote that said, find a healthcare team and work with your team. So you've got your team, it sounds like.
Yep.
Which I guess at the same time also not only keeps you honest, but keeps you in the eyes of everybody too, because they see you doing all the work as well.
Yeah, I mean, would you want to go to a physical therapist that's out of shape trying to treat a CrossFit athlete, right? That maybe doesn't do not necessarily doesn't do CrossFit, but doesn't even go to the gym, right? You're not going to treat them the same way. So if I'm putting myself out there, maybe I'm not CrossFitting right now because I'm going through bodybuilding, but I'm a CrossFit coach. I still know what you're going through. I've competed before. I've practiced it before, so I know what you're going through, right? Or I'll take that time to study it, and you know what? I'm doing something of my own passion. So I feel like I have more of that, I can build that trust a little bit easier with athletes because they understand, okay, I might not be playing baseball, but I understand that team aspect, right? So, and I understand what they're going through. Yeah.
So where do you think this passion comes from? Because you wouldn't be doing this if you didn't love it.
What?
For being athletic and for working with athletes and working with that population and being health and wellness minded, let's say.
Yeah, I know. I've always wanted to help people, and I never knew how when I was younger, right? All through middle school and high school, I knew I wanted to help people when they got hurt, but I didn't know what that meant because I didn't really understand what physical therapy was at that point. And then I'm still discovering it, but going through the years, it's really cool. Even in West Virginia, I was still figuring it out because I was transitioning from insurance-based clinics to now a private pay clinic where I'm not being watched under a microscope anymore, right? I can actually treat the person as a whole. The more I've practiced treating people as a whole, the more I've found, oh my gosh, this is really, I can treat them not only like the little bit of assessment that we did that was more conservative, but I can actually follow them through a whole training cycle and say, oh, look, this is getting better. Fantastic. Let's make it even better. Or, okay, now what movement do you want to go for? And I can actually follow them through a whole bunch of goals. So it's so much fun. And
Yes.
then just being able to watch myself grow as well is, I'm just another one that's growing and changing and improving. So, yeah.
Experiment on yourself to find out what might work for other people.
I do. I'm my own guinea pig. My husband didn't want that job anymore. So,
I just lost my train of thought.
sorry.
Darn.
Well, I guess for me, the question would be, so you've got this passion and you got this love and you're sharing it with trying to help people. What are some of the new techniques that you're kind of working on lately?
Yeah, so traditionally, gosh, right out of school, I had the Graston technique. That's always been my go-to. I did that right out of school because I knew that was going to save my hands. So I wanted to have that longevity of my career. For those of you that don't know the Graston technique, it's those metal scrapey tools that they have a lot of different brands now, right? A lot of people have.
Have you used Sidekick or you've seen Sidekick?
I've seen Sidekick. I use Graston.
Friends of the show.
Name drop. I use Graston because I've got the letters at the end of my name, and I spent a good investment on them. So that's what I'm going to use.
I have a Sidekick tool, one of them, and I like it a lot. So,
Yeah.
And my buddy got one. I mean, and they helped sponsor one of our giveaways, so it was nice. But no, they're really nice tools, I think, which are similar to your Graston tools.
Yep. I mean, I know Rock Tape has them, Rock Blades, and then there's a Hawk Grip. So there's a whole bunch of stuff. So I started incorporating that with movement. And then when I was in West Virginia, I was observing an athletic trainer down at one of our local schools who learned cupping therapy while he was over in China and taught me some of his techniques while working with athletes. In his sense, he was working at a school where the kids weren't paying, so he didn't want to, cupping therapy was a little bit more of a treat or kind of an as needed basis. Where in my world, I'm a business at the end of the day. So people see those marks and they want those marks. But I took that time to educate them on what those marks mean. For cupping therapy, if you've seen people walking around with the circles, Michael Phelps was the big one a couple Olympics ago, right? That came out. So that was
Feels just like yesterday.
Yeah, right. Jeez. Well, I still have people come up and give me that, whatever. So people still reference that anyways. So I started using cupping in conjunction with Graston, and I started using them not only statically, but with movement too, right? Because people move, athletes move. We can work on you while you're staying still, but at the end of the day, you're going to have dynamic movement. So then last year I took an integrated kinetic neurology course, and that's been more of the up and coming stuff. And they are awesome guys to follow. It's really like that next step forward for physical therapists. They're able to take little pieces of functional neurology and make it easier for me as a physical therapist to actually do in my treatments, to actually teach people what to do on their own to get that last little bit of healing. Those people that maybe hurt themselves, it's been a year, they go back to the gym and it's still hurting. Well, it's been a year. It's probably not necessarily because it's still hurt if you've done all your rehab and all your training leading up to the training, I guess. Right? It's more of that sensory component where your brain's like, oh, I remember this, and you hurt yourself last time, so I'm going to give you that pain. Well, the integrated kinetic neurology is really cool that I can, because now we can kind of address those sensory systems. We can address your nervous system a little bit more and tweak it just to help with optimizing performance, taking away your pain, that type of thing. That was a lot of rambling, guys. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. We want more of you, less of us.
What is functional neurology in layman's terms?
Right. It's just looking at the nervous system and how you move with it. Right. So that's the way that I look at it.
And then integrated kinetic neurology is?
Yeah. So we're integrating, the right and left hemispheres of the brain, especially. We're integrating the sensory systems with the motor systems. Okay. We're trying to integrate the body with the brain. Kinetic being movement, especially.
And so like you stated, and I was in that situation for years. I had pain in my ankle following an injury and then surgery. And they said, physically you look fine, so you shouldn't have any pain, so get on out of here. That's what most of the medical advice I was getting was. So this could have perhaps been useful back then, huh?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, right? And I've been listening to your guys' stuff, your podcast, past ones, that people get these images, these x-rays, these MRIs, and they may show herniated discs or whatever, right? It doesn't mean that they have pain. Or some people have a normal image, but they still have pain. It's so much more complex than just an image on a screen, right? Especially when you're just still, maybe no weight through that joint or whatever it might be. It's so much more complex than that. It's emotions, it's your environment, it's what you're feeling, it's what you're seeing, it's what you're sensing.
Yeah, and Dan Dominguez was talking about too how one thing might be hurting, but it's because of something else on your body. Mm-hmm. So you're like, for me, say my Achilles area was starting to hurt, but it could have been something from my shoulder. It's just traveled down for over the years. So yeah, I think that's along the kinetic idea as well, right?
Yep. Yeah, and just like I know we're going to talk about it in a little bit, but for Dan's assessment, I always look from head to toe. I just do that general assessment. I'll get more specific if I need to, but even if somebody comes in and tells me they have knee pain, I'm still going to look at the hip, the ankle, maybe even the shoulders. Yeah, because especially in the IKN world, everything is a letter X, right? The body's a letter X. We walk opposite hand, opposite leg, right? So we're kind of looking at those chains in that sense as well.
And I also think too, along those lines, you were talking about the eyesight too, which was vestibular.
Well, you have your eyesight, and then you have your vestibular system, that inner ear, like your balance system. Mm-hmm.
And what was it? Let's just get into it.
Might as well
get into the assessment. So yeah, so start us off with the assessment and the evaluation that you worked on with Dan. How you kind of found out where you wanted to work on them.
Yeah. So typically, when anybody comes in, I just want to hear what's on their mind, because that is a big component of it. Yes, your body's going to tell me what's going on when you're moving, and when I evaluate it. But at the end of the day, if it's on your mind, it's probably something that's affecting you. So that's why I asked Dan first what was bothering him. I don't know if you really want to go through that all, but I asked people what's going on.
I'm an open book.
It's up to you.
It was everything.
Yeah, pretty much everything. No.
Yeah, so.
Ankle, back, neck, forearm, wrist, elbow, right? I think that covered it.
That's about it. Yeah. Everything. Told me about a couple of past injuries. I like to know surgeries. I like to know if anybody's had concussions, that type of deal. Then I'll take them just through a general standing evaluation. Just cervical motions are up at the neck, down, up, side to side, shoulders up overhead, back behind the back, and then the whole trunk, just bending down, touching your toes, bending back, twisting. I tend to look at the pelvic stork standing test. I love that just because it kind of tells me one, how your balance is, but two, just how your low back and your hips are moving in general. Got them on the table. I usually test people on their back unless I'm trying to get really specific. For you, I didn't really do a whole lot of special tests, right? A lot of times maybe if somebody's having a shoulder issue, I'll just rule out the rotator cuff, make sure that there's nothing going on. Or if there's something else with their ankle, I should have done it with you, but I didn't. Maybe I'll have them stand on one leg and balance, eyes open, eyes closed, single leg squat, more of those functional things that you may see with athletes. Then laying on your back, kind of looking just in general, how your legs are moving, straight leg raise, Thomas test, just moving the shoulders around. And then I got into a little bit of the ICAN testing, looking into the nervous system and seeing if his body was responding in a stiff sense or that hypertonic sense where he was just, you were very stiff, right? Just whether it's a stress, I've seen it a lot with acute injuries, the body just gets into protective mode. And then we try to
I feel like I've been locked up for years. Just
welcome. Yeah.
Ready for defense.
Yeah. So that's pretty much the main assessment I do. And again, I will kind of break that down if I need to. I'll look at the knees, ligaments, meniscus, whatever. But that's the main thing I do because number one, we need to get your body to calm down so you can actually receive treatment a little bit better.
I'm pretty calm.
Now you're pretty calm.
Yeah. Right after
Now you're pretty calm.
after the treatment is what I mean. I'm so
Yeah.
calm, I'm not going to finish sentences.
Yeah, so we calm the body down a little bit, and then we'll go into any hands-on treatment that's necessary. And sometimes I'll go into that, like we were talking about the eyesight and the vestibular testing as well.
Yeah, and I watched and I laughed and I had fun. No, I think I was watching a couple of the things you were doing to get him to relax, which was let's talk about the squishy thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. If the integrated kinetic neurology guys listen to this, they're going to be like, squishy thing, really? But that's just how I describe it to my patients. I try to keep everything a little bit lighthearted because people get really nervous anyways, right? When you're just sitting on the table, you're getting assessed for all your weaknesses. It's nerve-wracking. So I had him lay on his back, brought his knee up to his chest, said, or towards your chest, I guess, and I said, don't let me push it down, right? So he kind of marched his leg up, wouldn't let me push it down. Safe to say you were pretty strong. Had him relax his leg.
I'm very strong.
You're very strong, yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Had him relax the leg, and I cradled it just so that it wouldn't drop. I did a squishy thing to his leg, so I kind of squished his quad a little bit, and then I had him try to hold it again. Yeah, they're just rubbing their leg. It's fine. Had him hold it again, and he still held stiff. What happens with that squishy thing? It's a little bit of that spindle cell compression. It's localized. You're taking that nervous system locally and you're just confusing it a little bit. What's supposed to happen normally is that your leg then falls weak, and that's a normal test. You were very stiff and you were still able to hold it strong even when I did the squishy thing. So that's telling me that your body's in super protective mode. So let's think about if you were to go to the gym. So maybe now you're doing bicep curls, but you're in this super stiff.
I'm always doing bicep curls.
I know. You always posted Flexin' Friday, so that's why we're doing bicep curls. But you
I gotta post today, actually.
Go to do bicep curls, and maybe, if you're stiff, you're maybe not going to pull as much as you wanted to that day. You may even be at a higher risk for injury at that point. So that's where we take you through that relaxation and breathing technique as well.
I also do triceps, by the way. People don't.
You gotta balance it out.
They don't realize that. They just talk about the biceps.
I gotta post more.
Sorry, I'm derailing the conversation. I would hate to have a bicep injury, though. That you just described my worst nightmare.
I'm so sorry. That's it. Weekend ruined.
Sorry. So if my legs and my back are shot, I'm okay because my arms are still functioning.
So yeah, you did the magic trick there with the squishy thing, or you made Dan's leg fall.
Yep, that was after we got you calm with all the breathing.
Yeah, that's right. Did we talk about that?
I touched on it.
Okay.
Yeah. Once we did all the breathing, we did some deep breathing, just trying to get you to calm down, right? The brain's top priority for you is survival. Number one thing you need to do is breathe. So the more that we can incorporate breathing into any treatment too, we can even incorporate it into your rehab exercises, the more your brain's going to say, hey, we're safe.
So
we're doing okay.
We should incorporate that into our life.
Pretty much.
Just deep breathing.
I'm doing it right now.
Is that why your eyes are closed?
No. Every time we keep talking about it, I'm like,
all right.
Deep breathing.
There's a lesson learned. But you also incorporate that into, let's say, like, I don't know, would you tell somebody to add that into their programming?
I usually, on the first visit, if we get good results like we did with you, where the leg dropped and you were calmer at the end, I would tell people, at the very least, right before you go to bed, take 5 deep breaths, and then we go massage those neurolymphatic points. So those neurolymphatic points, again, get you out of that neurologically stressed, like cover your chest and belly position to open up and relax and say, hey, we're okay. So it's usually...
We create a safe space for ourselves.
Yes. So I usually say it right before bed because that's when we do the most healing overnight. I've done it before CrossFit competitions because I get way too in my head, so it kind of chills me out a little bit. I've done it when I'm stressed.
I heard Edibles does that too. No, I'm just kidding.
We are near Canada.
I guess that's one way to do it.
Okay, you could just doing it for just myself. It's 10 seconds here. You could just ship me off to bed. Just put me right in my pillows. I'll have a little cuddle session with my pillows. It's funny because you don't think about you're so stressed out and how much that really does affect your body.
And it's just, right, it's the simplest thing. Would it take us 3 minutes to go? And I know I did almost your whole body.
It didn't seem like much, but the physical effects were there. So I think some people might not stick with let's say like a practice like meditation is like the cool thing to talk about these days. So if you don't necessarily see like an immediate benefit, you might not understand that something actually is happening. Same with the breathing, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I try to show people, hey, look, do you see this big difference that it made? Do you see that you only need to do maybe 20 breaths max? You know what I mean? 20 deep breaths, 5, and then your massage ones, and then maybe 5 more at the end. So it shouldn't take you more than 3 minutes. I know meditation, I've tried it. I can't get my brain to shut up. I just have all these thoughts go through my head. I haven't figured out how to just calm down.
Well, that's
you're
the
not
point.
supposed to do that necessarily,
Yeah,
right?
you're not
You
supposed to
observe
fight
the
it.
thoughts.
Yeah, you're not supposed to fight it.
I'm not very good at it
So
then.
I think
I'm observing my thoughts throughout the rest of my day, so I've never meditated because I feel like I feel like I'm kind of in a meditative state sometimes anyway.
I think he's
I need the opposite. I need someone to make me more alive.
engaged.
Yeah.
See, I think you're crazy.
I might be a crazy person.
The idea of
I won't
trance
dispute that.
meditation is that you're not fighting the thoughts, but you're just still staying in the moment. You'd be surprised. 20 minutes of that, and you might
You
give
guys
yourself
here
a
that
little
have
bit
no
of
idea what we're talking about, giving advice on meditation.
Hey, I try it. I might not be perfect at it, but I try.
I'll just
Anyway.
need some better instruction, I guess.
It's like so I did those breaths and then like I didn't know that I was in a better state until you tested me. So it helps give some more, I don't know, evidence behind.
Awareness.
Yeah.
Yeah, it allows, that's why I love doing it too. And that's why we test the leg. It's a lot easier for you as a patient too to see, oh, this is making a difference, right? And it's easier for me to test too. So
So if it's not going to make a difference, I'm not going to bother with it.
right. Who would? Right? I mean, really.
Yeah.
I think that helped his whole the whole treatment that you did to him. Not only just the leg when the squishy thing, but as a whole, Dan, like when you redid the assessment while he was standing, you could see more I don't want to say functional,
More fluid
movements, yes, of him doing the different types of stretching like immediately, which I think was because he wasn't relaxed.
Another cool thing that you pointed out, Dan, was that your stance was getting narrower too, which was kind of cool. So
Yeah,
I mean,
every time we did something, my stance got narrower.
Yeah, because you were standing pretty wide.
I usually do, yeah.
Yeah, so that was cool. That was something different. But yeah, I always like to look at every time I do something, I'll try to retest people so that they can see too. Oh, look, you are moving a little further. Or you know what? You might be moving the same amount, but your quality of movement looks better. So that's what we really look for. Yeah, and then from there, going into that hands-on treatment as well with all the pepperonis on your back.
We did
Salamis.
Graston and we put salami on my back. So
Yeah.
which one do we want to talk about first?
Do the Graston.
Yeah. So
Graston on my hip.
yeah. So for Dan, I think a lot of his issue was coming from around the pelvic area, right? The core, the pelvic area, the hips. Everything was pretty tight. Yes, you had other stuff going on. I love to focus centrally though first, just to help. It just translates into the upper body and the lower body so much better.
It makes sense. I feel like my hips are probably the starting point of where I would like to make improvements.
Yeah, so not everybody's different with why their hips are tight. For you, we try to loosen them up a little bit with movement. Some people I will do maybe loosening them up and then activating them right away, or some resistance exercise, or maybe even a core exercise. Everybody's a little bit different with how they present. I just wanted you to get a little bit looser and be able to tell your hips, hey, it's okay that we stand up straight. Especially we exaggerated it with the back bend because you said when you get up out of a chair, you tend to feel a little bit stiff. So let's exaggerate it. Let's tell your hips it's okay to open up so that you're not walking around like you're bent over like a shopping cart when you first get up out of your chair, right? So kind of worked on, told you, I tell everybody to squeeze their butt. I think that's my favorite cue. I do it in CrossFit and I do it in my office. Told you squeeze your butt and push your hips forward just to help get that stretch.
I used to do that when I was standing in line. I got away from it. I got to add that back in.
Add it back in. But yeah, during that
You got a
whole
loose
thing,
butt, Dan. You
Yeah.
got to tighten that up.
Oh my. During the whole thing though, I would get you back on track. During the whole thing though, I would continue to do the Graston with those movements, right? Just kind of stimulating and saying, hey, don't forget this is what it feels like when you're stretching, giving it that a little bit more stimulation than just you bending back. So that way hopefully it lasts a little bit longer.
So what is it? What is Graston doing?
That's a loaded question. So a lot of people say, oh, it breaks up scar tissue, right? It stretches
Right.
things out.
That's what you hear.
Yeah, it's not necessarily doing that.
Fascia stuff.
Yep. I mean, so it's creating an inflammation process, right? I'm creating an inflammation process. So we are resetting the healing process, basically. So by resetting the healing process and then putting you through movements that I want you to actually go into, we're going to teach you how to heal properly. So after these treatments, that's why I give people these exercises to do and say, look, if you want your treatment to last longer, these are the right exercises that you need to do right now to go back to your basics, and then we'll build up from there. So we kind of break them down through the Graston technique. I use it more with movement. I know a lot of people are different and they'll do it statically. I love to do it with movement if we can and if the person can tolerate it, because welcome to our life, right? We're constantly moving anyways. So more
Speak for yourself.
Sorry, I'm constantly moving, yeah. So the more that we can incorporate it into movements, though, the more it'll translate into your life.
And are there different types of tools? I mean, I know we talked about it a little bit, but what types of tools do you have in your goodie bag there?
Yeah, I got the 6 Graston instruments.
It's like Mary Poppins over here.
Really, I know. There's 6 different ones. There's some that are convex, so that they're a little bit more aggressive. Some that are concave, so they'll get areas that maybe are a little bit more sensitive, or like in the ribs. There's smaller ones for hands and fingers and feet. And then there's some that I use for scars as well that are a little bit smaller. I didn't bust them all out for you. I apologize. I also have a big bike handlebar one.
Oh yeah, I've seen.
And then how does putting salami on my back help me?
Yeah, so cupping therapy. So that's what you guys are getting into. I'm so sorry. The cupping therapy.
We're good.
I just started that, like I said, a couple years ago. I loved it. I've used it very similar to how I practice the Graston technique. Only it's the opposite, right? Instead of me pressing into the body and causing that inflammation, we're pulling blood up to the surface. So we're promoting that circulation through there. The way that I've explained it to people is the darker the marks, the more stagnant the circulation was. So you weren't able to get as good of circulation in there to actually help it heal. So over time, if you're not getting that good healing through there, it's going to feel stiff and tight, and it's never going to be able to loosen up. So the cups are great because we can promote that circulation. So your salami pieces on your back, your nice purple spots that you have, I've seen somebody before where they were a big pec and bicep guy, and that's all they did, right? And they had shoulder pain in the front because they were very rounded forward. I put it on the front of their shoulder, and they turned black like my floor, like it within 5 seconds. His was pretty quick, like 5 seconds, it was black. Saw him once a week for about 4 or 5 weeks. And by that 4th or 5th week, as soon as I put it on, it was just the normal skin color. It was just that pink that we were looking for. So we got that blood flow going through there. He continued his exercises. I gave him a specific warm-up to do that was a little bit more for his posture to reset it the way that we want it to be. And then through the cupping therapy, it kind of helped reset the circulation. It was very cool.
That all makes sense. I was I was skeptical of cupping in the past because I didn't really know much about it. I'm just wondering I was wondering to myself, what does that do?
It's really cool over sessions to see, right? Because I have people now, CrossFit athletes that came in like a shoulder injury, and over time it's gotten lighter and lighter each time, or the cup marks will disappear faster. So that's how we know, okay, great. I'm fair skin. I get marks like crazy, right? Just because I'm fair skin. But if they heal faster, then I know that I'm actually healing a little bit quicker. So
with Dan's too, you were doing a movement with just the one cup at first.
Yep. So I typically do some massage with it first, and that's just more of me scanning. It just feels good too.
It felt
right?
good.
It feels really good. So it just helps to start that blood flow up. Through that scanning too, if I find sometimes I'll go over a spot and then all of a sudden there'll be like, I'm not kidding, like a little circle of just purple will just appear in the red sea of just that blood flow circulation, right? So that's where I know, okay, maybe there's an injury in that area, or maybe there's something going on right there, and that's where we need some treatment.
And you were saying too that with the cupping, not only because like you had the one area was more affected red than maybe some of the other areas. You were saying that's like maybe one of a better contributing to factor to what might be hurting him? Yeah.
So I noticed it was the example of bringing your arm up overhead and patting yourself on the back. Your left shoulder was just not moving right compared to your right. I always look not only at how far it's moving. I don't have anything to measure necessarily, but I look at the quality of movement right to left side. So I had a feeling that on that left side that something was going to be a little bit funky, and we found out it was.
Funky Cole Medina. Yeah, I'm glad you didn't look at my shoulders yet, because it's way worse than his. From throwing a football and baseball and all that stuff, my shoulders are wrecked. Like I did it just when you guys weren't paying attention. I was doing it, and I was like, oh man, I can't even get my right arm back there that far. I was like, so who knows what. I've had some cupping on my left shoulder, but never on my whole back or right shoulder. So, and I had the acupuncture on my left shoulder. So, who knows? Who knows? I'm just happy that Dan has salami on his back and not me.
I think I'm going to the beach tomorrow too, so that'll be fun.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I'm not.
It's
So if you haven't caught on yet,
it's a great way to start conversations with people.
The salami is the cup marks that ended up being on Dan's back. He needed some circulation, and they turned pretty much purple.
The best part about
pictures will be up, I'm sure.
Yeah, the best part about it is that
Nick can put them all on his profile. I can't stop it.
Yeah, the best part is it's like just a moon shape, on just his lower. I would say maybe 2/3 of his lower back. So it's not like your whole back's covered in it. Just that little area, and it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. Nah, it's fine. Not my back. Hey, actually, you know what?
Feels good.
I was gonna say you take win some, lose some here, in the fact that you might not aesthetically look good because they're huge, but.
To be fair, I do ask in advance typically. You said you were good with the cupping, but if people have weddings or they have beach vacations, we don't have to do the cupping. But
I don't care what people think.
It's so funny though. I have a lot of people that get upset if they don't get the marks, and I'm like, well, you're not supposed to.
Well, I loved it when you were giving them the double pump. You were sucking them in a little bit more. I was like, yes.
You may have had a little more fun with this than Dan did.
No, that's fine. It's all good.
And while the cups were in, I was trying to raise my arms. That was the hardest. Everything that you had me do, very simple, very easy for the most part. Pretty fun. I recommend everyone do it. But the hardest thing was when while laying down to
Snow
raise
angel.
my arms
Yeah,
up. Do the
I made
snow
Dan
angels.
do a prone snow angel. So laying on your stomach, starting with your arms at your sides, lifting your arms up as high as you can to the ceiling, and very slowly circling them around up to the head and then all the way back to the hips. That's my favorite shoulder warm up for when you don't have any equipment, because you can just use gravity and your arm weight.
But you could tell that's where, especially when Dan was getting closer to the top, where his shoulder mobility, I think, right, is lacking.
Yep.
And that's not a knock. That's just, I'm sure mine would be the same way. But you could, I'm sure you'll admit yourself too that was your biggest struggle, is when you were getting to the top.
Oh yeah, it was one of the toughest exercises I've done in a couple weeks.
I only had to do 2 reps.
So I thought you were struggling more. Well, you did struggle with that, but I thought you were struggling more
I was really fighting it.
when you made him get into more of the angry cat position and lean back. I thought that was a struggle.
That was pretty easy. It's just a matter of
It just
I wanted
looked
to make
like
sure,
a struggle for you.
I wanted to make sure that I was pressing hard the whole time, so I didn't want to go too fast, and it was hard to tell when I wasn't being able to press anymore. So
Yeah, as you get back further, it's harder. So because the up overhead was hard for him, one of my other favorite shoulder ones to do, especially first off, for people that have pain either raising their arm up overhead or you just didn't have full mobility up overhead without arching your back. So I have people activate the serratus by pushing up into that angry cat or pushing your shoulder blades apart and very slowly rocking back to that child's pose while holding that push. And that's going to get you towards that overhead position.
Yoga.
Right? Yeah, just with cups.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's one of my favorite ones to do, just to, again, just get your arm up overhead a little more actively, but while you're on the table, so again, your brain perceives you as being safe.
Why were you doing it with the X though? So you had him, was that more vestibular again?
It was more, yeah, for the vision and the sensory system. So that X is, I consider the X like your sensory's dumbbell system. It's craving that letter. It's going to help to get the strong and the weak side working a little bit better together. And it's going to help to focus your brain a little bit more into knowing, yes, I'm safe. I can see this X. So that's a target that I've used. I've used it for people before too, where there's 2 different ones and they have to bounce their eyes from side to side or up and down, and just try to focus in on those X's. It's just making it a little bit more complex, really.
Vestibular. I just like saying the word now.
yeah, we noticed.
Vestibular. That's my new word for the day. I learned it.
I have an amazing vestibular system, though. Let's talk about my
You
positive
do,
traits.
yes.
Yeah,
you
that was
do.
really good.
Let's
I
talk
was
about
pretty- I was pretty
let's talk about your
impressed.
positive assessment of
Stop
this.
talking about my T-spine mobility over here.
Yeah, so on top of what we did, on top of what we did, I looked at his dominant and weak eye, as well as his dominant and weak vestibular systems. With my athletes, I love working the eyes and the inner ear of that vestibular system. Do you want to say it one more time?
Vestibular.
Yep, there we go. Our bodies need to know where we are in space by getting by getting information through our eyes, by getting information through our head position and where we are in space. If the right and left sides are not calibrated very well, or there's a big difference between the two, your brain's not going to be able to get that information correctly, and therefore that's where you're going to get pain, that's where you're going to get weakness, that's where you're going to get that stiffness output. So the better that we can coordinate them together, along with combining it with motor system movements, right? Just like if your presses hurt, let's have you do some of those movements while you're doing a slow press, right? We can train your body. Let's make this more complex so we can say, oh, this isn't actually so bad.
It increases your focus, or
We're increasing your sensory awareness, right? We're telling your eyes now able to see what's going on over here. So if I've got a barbell in my hands, basically, and somebody's kind of doing something over there, if I can see it in my peripheral and I can see that it's somebody just doing something, they're not going to come attack me. My brain's going to say, okay, we're safe. But if my right eye is weak and I see something over there, but I have no idea what it is, I might perceive it as a danger. And therefore I might have pain, or I might have poor performance in my press or whatever movement you're doing.
that's fascinating. I never knew about any of this.
Like I said, follow those guys. They've got some good stuff coming out.
Vestibular.
That would make a good running back, right? If you have good eye movements and vestibular system.
Oh my gosh. Any athlete,
good at-
especially
I'm good at hitting
fast-moving
those
ones.
Boom.
Oh God.
Good job, Dan.
Get your minds out of the gutter.
You said it. We're just figuring it out. Anyways.
I meant nothing by it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Neither did we. So, good talk. Anyways, so what would have been something that you wanted to test on Dan that you didn't?
Eventually doing more of that peripheral, right? Looking more into the ankle because he's had that past injury of the ankle. Looking at balance, looking at just how it's functioning.
I'm laughing because I'm like, and my friends would tell you that that's absolutely true. They're sick of hearing about the ankle.
I won't lie. I am too. I am too.
It's most.
I think
it's like at 80. It's like at a solid 80% now.
Yeah. We could figure that out.
So yeah, testing the ankle, and then your first complaint was your forearm. So then maybe just looking into that, just making sure you don't have like a tendonitis or something going on. So, but other than that, I just like to treat the full body. We pretty much did what I want to do for a first treatment. I wouldn't want to do more than that because I think that would be too much. I think today was actually pretty good, focusing in on the front of the hips and then the back as well. If we did much more than that, you would have been like, what? You probably would have been sleeping by now. So
I might have to hire you for more sessions.
And if Dan was an athlete,
Dennis says that I am, so.
Okay. If Dan was an athlete, what would be some of the things, exercises that both ways he should be focusing on more or staying away from?
Ooh, that's a good question because there's a lot.
I always
That is
pull
a
out
good
the good
question
questions at the end.
those are the types of things I think about whenever I'm in the gym. I don't know what I should be doing.
Anything on hands and knees is going to be great for you right now, just because you're in that safe position. Okay, all right, guys. Jesus.
Hitting the hole.
God. Trying to be professional.
That's the opposite. I
It's
should
fine.
Sorry. We'll pull it back. Go ahead.
Oh my gosh.
Kelsey.
I can't.
Cat poses.
Yes, in a quadruped position, right, you're going to be working the core a little bit more. You're working your shoulder stability and you're working your hip stability. Okay, so getting you in that position, and with you being on the ground like that, your brain's perceiving you as safe as opposed to maybe if you were standing. You just have more things in contact with the floor or the ground, whatever.
Maybe some yoga, Dan.
Yeah.
Get some yoga in your life. He thinks it's too easy. I say,
I don't seem to.
but
I don't think
he's doing it right. That's why.
Maybe I'm not focusing enough. Maybe my subconscious is resisting the yoga because it knows it'll help me.
I think if you
And I
did
wanna be
more yin, I
damaged.
think if you did more yin, you'd be better because it's more the stretching of the specific muscles. Where he, instead of just doing like a normal like flow class where you're doing the same different movements, all that stuff. I don't know how familiar you are with yoga, but
Right
I
over
don't
my
know
head.
anything.
anyways,
either.
so yeah, like the yin yoga, you're staying in certain movements longer to emphasize those groups. I would say, you know what I mean?
Well, here's my take on that. I like it for adapting your nervous system a little bit more maybe and adapting it to that discomfort level so you're able to tolerate more discomfort. It's not going to do anything to stretch them out beneficially in the long term, right? So that's where you would need to maybe do your prone snow angels right after your yoga session. Once you stretch out your lats, now you have to teach your lats.
I felt like was doing something.
Right.
Yeah.
But also same with the breathing though, too, because you're focusing on your breathing with.
I don't need to get used to
practice.
discomfort. I'm good with discomfort. I just need to know what to do.
Big thing I tell people, because everybody thinks that they need to stretch. Not necessarily. If you're stretching, what I tell people is to contract while you're in that stretch. So contract, relax, contract, relax.
Right.
Teach your body how to, like, what it actually feels like in that range of motion.
Well,
And as Deion Sanders says, cheetah never stretches before it catches its prey.
is it weird? Because I was just going to say that I never stretch before I do any activities. I don't. I just never think about it. Nothing in my body is like, Nick, you need to do this or that. I just jump right into whatever activity I'm doing, and then I'm like, I warm up as I go.
Yep.
But I'm never one to be like, oh, I got to stretch out my calves. I got to go stretch out my back. Even though it's always something that we were, as a team, we were always like, all right, let's huddle up, get, circle up, getting your stretches, your calisthenics in. But I'm like, nah, I'm fine. I'm good.
That's an interesting one because it's like the recent trend has been to not stretch before activities. So most recently when I was coaching track, we didn't do any static stretching before our practices. But then I almost feel like people might have taken it too far because then it became like, don't ever static stretch. Like,
Yeah, there's a
it's
time and
there's
place for
probably
it.
some benefit to it, especially if you're doing it intelligently, but it's also probably something that's not like a necessity.
That's the big thing is people thought it was a necessity, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can't touch my toes, so I have to keep reaching for my toes, and then eventually I'll touch. No, you probably won't.
I never touched my toes.
Yeah, that's it is what it is.
You might
just
be damaging yourself if you're continually trying to do something like that you can't.
Yeah, you need as much flexibility as you need for your sport. So that's why a lot of soccer players and runners can't really lift their leg up very high or have poor hamstring flexibility. They don't need a ton, right? You just need enough to run and to cut. You don't need to deadlift like a power lift. Not that they're very flexible either, but you know what I mean. You don't need as much flexibility as a gymnast, right? So, yeah.
The other weird thing about flexibility is, now that we're on a new topic, like I can actually touch my toes sometimes, but it depends on other factors, like what movements was I just doing, how relaxed am I. So if you're just static stretching and you're like all tensed up, I don't know if that's really doing anything for you.
Yeah, usually if I do static stretching or have it prescribed to people, I'll usually tell them to breathe while they're doing it because it's just to calm the nervous system down maybe. Or like I said, have them contract at some point in that stretch just to reteach the muscle how to work. But yeah, that's
Right.
my kind of take on it.
Do you want to contract the muscle that you're stretching or the
Yes.
antagonist?
Well, I usually I prefer to
both.
stretch I prefer to stretch the one that I'm contract the one that I'm stretching because then it has no choice but to relax right after. That's the take that I have on it. I tend to see people that gain more flexibility out of it. They're like, wow, this is really cool. But then they're still contracting in that flexed position now. So now they've gained new flexibility and they've started to figure out, oh, okay, this is what it feels like to work my muscle. God forbid I pull something, right? If you kind of cut wrong and you overstretch it, that's how we get injured. So we got to reteach it how to actually work. Does that make sense?
A little bit, yeah.
I hope so.
I think it makes sense in the sense of the fact that like if you keep putting more of a stress on it, then yes, you're more prone to injury. Is what you're kind of saying?
Yeah, well, if you're, I guess just more specifically, if we're stretching something, if you get to that far point and then you contract it at that far point, now it knows how to work at that far point. So if you were to ever get to that far point when you're outside of stretching, right? If you're playing soccer and you really reach really far for a ball, now you don't have to worry about pulling your hamstring, right? Or overstretching your hamstring because it's used to being stretched that far and then having to catch yourself on the ground.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to smack the
Like I did a split the other day running to third base. I overshot third base and I had to like keep my left toe on the bag as to not be tagged out, and then I did a split. My whole team was like, "That's amazing!" Like, and I don't know how I did it because I was just trying to hold my left leg onto the bag. Meanwhile, my right leg's still going.
That yoga
Yeah,
yoga.
it's that yoga.
practice.
But I do at first base too. I'll do long stretches and stuff like that. But I don't stretch for it. You know what I mean? So I guess that's always been weird to me. Is I'm not thinking about stretching like that. But I can still do it, I guess, because like you said, you've trained yourself to that point.
Yeah, because I'm sure you've done that before, right? You
Yeah.
play baseball and you're running for something.
Playing a goalie, whatever, you know what I mean?
Oh,
Stuff like
yeah,
that.
that's a good one too.
Yeah. For hockey, I should say.
So
You're still doing splits.
Splits.
So I should do exercises on all fours.
Yes.
And what else?
You're prone snow angels for sure. And I would even do some. Have you done dead bugs before?
Yes.
You can do dead bugs and add a little bit of resistance, like put a banded loop around your feet so that you have resistance for your hip. So what I do, if you can imagine laying on your back, right, hands up to the ceiling, knees bent, feet up off the ground, banded loop around your feet. I call it my ghetto leg press. So I'll have people contract their abs and then just let one leg come down. Because with that band, yes, you're pushing into it, but your other one's still holding you up. So you're actually working that hip flexor in that same flex position that you would see in the bottom of a squat. Like I work with a lot of the weightlifters. So that's what we kind of work towards.
I know I have a tight hip flexors, so that's tough for me to even get close to doing the dead bug and all that stuff.
So someone might. Well, is there anything else that you wanted to add?
Or things that he should stay away from.
Sure. Yeah, we can do that.
Listen to your body.
Okay. So then somebody could.
Your body says no, don't do
Done.
it.
Check.
I will continue to not deadlift from the floor.
Duly noted.
So someone could hire you in theory to like put some of the stuff together for them in terms of like you should add dead bugs into your, I don't know, like before you lift for the day.
That's what I do with everybody. I ask them, what are they looking for? Are they looking for an accessory program, something they can do in conjunction with their current training program, just to make sure that they stay, whatever weaknesses they have, get stronger? Are they looking for a rehab program, something that they actually have to follow through in its entirety, maybe a little bit longer? Or are they just looking for a warm-up? I have a go-to shoulder warm-up that I give my CrossFit athletes on top of, hey, but these other ones are specific for you. So try them a couple times a week. I've got a very specific hip one that I do. So I'll provide them with whatever they're looking for. Primarily, it turns into warm-ups of, hey, do these 3 exercises, because who's going to do 20 exercises before they actually go work out, right? Do these 3 warm-up exercises. It'll take you 3 minutes, and then you're done. Then you can go do your workouts. Obviously, if it's an injury, then I'm going to make them go through more of a rehab-y program just so that they actually rehab and actually get better first before returning to their training program. Another thing I've started doing too is some online coaching, and that's more of transitioning my rehab-y patients, starting to get them back to whatever training that they're doing, or maybe even putting more weightlifting accessory work in with their whatever it is, CrossFit training. So it's like kind of bridging the gap between rehab and then back to full training. So I'll give them some extra stuff to do that's more of a, hey, let's still slow it down a little bit, work on that strength piece, whether it's your squat, your deadlift, your bench press, your bent over row, whatever it may be. Let's work on these things, break those movements down, and then we'll get you back into full training.
What are some other reasons people find their way into Muscle Up? And what was it? Muscle Up?
Now it's Muscle Up Physical Therapy
Wellness.
Yeah, it's a long name. That's why I'll shorten it eventually.
Come up with
I gotta come up with something.
an acronym of sorts.
I used to be Muscle Up PT down in West Virginia, so So it's Muscle Up PT. Usually it's people that I've coached at the gym, right? That I've seen their movement pattern. I'll tell them to their face because I'm watching them move, hey, this is probably what's going on. Or a lot of people actually approach me and say, hey, I know you're a physical therapist. Can you do anything about XYZ? Usually the answer is yes. I will refer out if I don't think so, because I know I can't take care of everything. A lot of people, it's word of mouth. It's, oh, look, this has gotten better for me. I PR'd this movement. I don't have pain anymore when I do this. You should go see her. So a lot of my stuff is word of mouth.
And showing up to all these not trade shows, but some of the games. Yeah,
that was so fun. That was so much fun. I was so tired on Sunday. I couldn't talk. I was so tired.
36 people? 32?
I think about 36, yeah. Somewhere in there. I lost count after a while.
Couple baker's dozens.
Yeah, it was so much fun.
That's good.
Yeah.
Kelsey, thanks for coming on again.
Thanks for having me.
We're going to hit you up with one shotgun question because you've already done the gambit the first time. So we're going to hit you with just one. Are you ready?
Oh, no. I don't know.
It's super fun. It's super easy. You've made it this far.
I know. We're almost done.
We're almost done. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
If you could be any superhero, who would you be?
The Flash.
Why?
So fast. I just want to be super fast.
All right, that's the Flash is becoming a popular superhero choice of our return guests so far.
Yeah, Flash is in the lead right now.
Yeah, the Flash is in the lead.
The only double vote getter, I think.
Yeah, so fast.
I don't resonate with that.
What do you need the speed for? What do you need the speed for? Yeah, Dan's the fastest kid alive. What do you need the Flash for? Why you got to be the Flash?
I miss it. I used to be so fast when I was younger.
Geez.
Oh, I'm not fast anymore.
You also used to be the fastest kid alive?
I used to be
when you have a bunch of ACL tears, I can understand.
My roommate he has no ACL. I can
understand the desire to be like, especially while you're injured, you're like, I want to move fast again.
Go.
One of my good friends has no ACL, and he's still one of the fastest kids alive.
No, I mean, once you recover, you can get it back. But
none. Zero.
For a while,
ACL.
It was like I had a couple different injuries that were. They impact your ability to run, and if you are an athlete or a runner, you're just like, you feel like, I don't know, like not a real person anymore.
I just think you guys are getting old, and you just don't realize that you lost a step or two.
Oh,
I'll never lose this.
Look at you. She was like, womp, womp, womp.
I loved running, and then I loved weightlifting, and then I didn't want to practice running anymore because I wanted to
Huge
weightlift.
difference. Yeah,
But if I were just the Flash, I wouldn't have to practice running. I could just be fast already.
it's true.
See?
I'm not mad about your choice. I like your choice. It's
What
one
else can the Flash do? I don't know anything about.
he can vibrate through walls. Vibrate
so
through,
fast?
through solid objects. Yes, because his cells are
Yeah.
always in motion, so he can zzz right through solid
That's news
objects.
to me.
You didn't know that?
Even better.
She didn't even know that. She just
Yeah.
wanted to go
so
fast.
you can run fast, but you can literally run through objects too.
He can also
Oh my
time
gosh.
travel because he's so fast,
yes,
right?
because he's so fast.
Yes, I picked
So she
the
didn't know
best
that either.
one.
Yes, and you can do like little hurricanes through your arms because you can move them so fast, and you can run on water. So there you go.
Oh my gosh. Got the full package.
I mean, there's other things too, but you have the Speed Force. I
mean,
mean,
like, I
I'm
hate
just
sitting in an-
nerdgasming all over this podcast.
I hate sitting in an airplane for like 8 hours to get to
You wouldn't have
Europe
to.
or whatever. Like, yeah, I could just run there.
Zoom.
Be there. How fast did I get there?
Like yesterday,
Like 30 seconds?
Like,
less than that?
it really would. Yeah, I mean, it's like real quick.
Nice.
You're the fastest kid
I go on
alive.
vacation every day. Like,
You wouldn't
clock
have
out of work.
Yeah.
I'm going to head to Italy,
Bye.
go get dinner, come back.
You could.
Oh my
yeah.
gosh, guys. This is giving me more reasons to love the Flash than I even thought.
Yeah. They're like, oh, I'm gonna go to the pyramids. I'll be
To watch the
back.
sunset.
Yeah. I'm gonna go watch. Yeah. What was?
again, and again,
what was
and
the name of
again.
that movie? He was doing that Jumper, or no? Was it Jumper? I can't remember.
I don't know.
Hayden Christensen. He was the guy who played young Darth Vader, and
I'm not the pop culture guy.
he was able to essentially just jump through like pockets of, I don't know, energy and just show up in different places at different times. So yeah, it was cool. Anyways, and he was hunted by Samuel L. Jackson. If you haven't seen it, go see that movie. It's good too. And then read The Flash while you're at it. Okay, let's wrap this up. Kelsey, awesome. Tons of good content here with as far as some of the things that you do professionally, which I think a lot of people, once again, probably aren't aware of that they could be using for their health and wellness. And it's not necessarily just physical therapy. I think this is just kind of like to help alleviate issues that you might be suffering just from your job or whatever, like Dan is obviously suffering from work.
The desk lifestyle.
The
on
desk.
my hips.
Yeah, exactly. But also probably things that, were never taken care of to begin with, like you were talking about too. So I think that these are techniques that people should be aware of. And, you're also using them in different ways with the cupping, the Graston, the integrated connect. We'll just squishy things. And I think that that's eye-opening because I was just a spectator, but I was able to see a significant difference. Obviously, you were as well, and Dan did too. In his gait, in his movement, and all that stuff. And it was only half an hour, if that. Of real like actually doing something, hands on. So that was it was impressive, and I think a testament to your knowledge and to what you're doing. So definitely appreciate you helping us. Well, not only coming onto the show, but putting us through the paces here.
Thank you, guys.
I certainly appreciate it because I'm going to sleep really good tonight.
I bet you are.
So if people want to better themselves through the work that you do, how can they do that?
Easiest way is to email me, Kelsey, KELSEY, at muscleuppt.com. You can find me on Facebook. I'm still under Muscle Up Wellness and Recovery right now. And then you can
need a
find
new
me-
site.
We got to talk about that.
Yeah.
And Instagram, muscleup_PT.
And do you only work with people in Rochester, Western New York, or can you do
That's where my
remote?
offices are. I can work with anybody in New York or West Virginia right now.
Okay.
So you can have online clients.
Yes. I work long distance. Obviously, I have not been able to perfect the hands-on treatment over the phone or over video chat. But
Yeah, that'd be difficult.
if people are interested in especially the sensory exercises or just getting a good exercise program for them and they want, I love to video chat because I can actually see you move. As opposed to just talking over the phone. So if anybody's interested in long distance stuff as far as exercise-based treatments goes, I can guide you through that as well. I can do that evaluation over the phone, and I'd be happy to work with you.
Great.
Awesome. Do it. Let's wrap it up.
Let's do it. So, thank you, everybody, for listening to the Hero Fit podcast. If you want to know more about this episode, if you need to get those links, that email address, all that information, you can go to herofitpodcast.com. And as a dedicated Hero Fit listener, you're probably strong AF. So that's why when we initially wrote our outros, we had that standard smash the subscribe button that everybody uses, and we had to rethink that immediately. So now we ask that you softly tap the subscribe button as to not damage your phone or your hand, so that we're not being wasteful and we don't have a potential lawsuit on our hands. If you have iTunes or Stitcher, we'd love if you left us a review. Because it's 2019 and the robot apocalypse is upon us. Robots love 5-star reviews. When they see a 5-star review, it makes them think we should recommend this app to other people.
Mm-hmm.
So trick those robots by giving us 5-star reviews. Or you're not really tricking them. You're actually giving them the information, the accurate information that they need about how amazing this podcast is.
Yeah, they want
really
it.
what's
Our robot overlords want the 5 stars.
Yes.
Give it to them.
And so you might be like, I'm on Spotify or Google Play or Amazon Alexa. I can't leave reviews, but you can still help us out. You could program a robot of your own or an algorithm. It could go around on the internet leaving comments on blogs, letting people know about Hero Fit Podcast.
Use a Raspberry Pi to create this.
You could have it crawl through the hashtag fitness on Instagram and then DM everybody that makes a post with hashtag fitness.
And
Technology is amazing.
and link to our Hero Fit podcast.
It can really help you guys help us and pay it forward because we're giving you free, amazing content. And what are you doing for us? So far, not much.
Well, you're listening.
Get out there, hit the pavement, spread the word.
They're listening. They're just not giving us the 5 stars that we
It's
want.
not good enough.
Yeah. Dan and the robots want 5 stars.
Nick thinks it's great that you guys just listen. I don't.
Yeah.
I need you to contribute a little bit.
I like
here.
the downloads. I like to see that people are listening. That's what.
I'm very demanding.
Yeah.
I expect a lot out of our audience. If you think someone would benefit from this episode that you just listened to, why don't you send it to them?
Share it with a friend.
And if you don't know anyone that would benefit from it, try sending it to somebody who would be triggered by it, and then come and publicly attack us on social media. A mention is a mention as far as I'm concerned.
It's all good mentions. Kelsey does not appreciate being attacked, but we appreciate it.
Let's bring it on. I love to get into internet fights.
Oh, jeez. So you're a troll.
No, I'm not a troll, but I like to attack the trolls.
Oh, okay.
I like to defend the honor of the rest of the internet against the trolls.
There we go.
Send the trolls my way.
Oh, okay.
I'll lay waste to the trolls.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of social media, you can find us on social media. We're on all of the social medias. We're even on LinkedIn.
Where you can attack.
People are like, "Why do you even need a LinkedIn account? You're a podcast." No, we're there. We're
we cater to
ready
everybody.
to talk to those white collar professionals if they need it.
That's right. We cater to everybody.
Susan in HR, if she wants to hear about our podcast, she'll find it on LinkedIn.
If she needs some muscle up attention, she should go there.
And we're on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. And we like it when people come and talk to us. Let us know how you feel about the episode. Let us know what kind of content you want. We've been getting good content or good feedback on the mental health stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we'll do more of that. Some people want it. We give the people what they want. And then they don't do anything in return. They're not leaving the 5-star reviews. They're not printing out the business cards and tossing them around. They're not printing out the condoms, throwing them out of the airplane during EDM music festivals or whatever. Like, these are the things you guys should be doing to help spread Hero Fit Podcast.
That's right.
But thanks for listening.
Keep it classy.
This has been another episode of the Hero Fit Podcast, making humans great again, one podcast at a time.